We are no longer of the same path, Su Chen. I am now a disciple of the Heavenly Wave sect. Do you even know what kind of place that is? It is a realm you will never reach in your lifetime. The clear-featured young woman looked down at him from above. That day, Su Chen never imagined he would encounter such a cliched scene in his own life. What a perfect divorce! Following the classic script, Su Chen wrote out a letter of repudiation without hesitation. 30 years east of the river, 30 years west, never mock the poor youth. Li Qingyue, I hope you never regret this. Rain poured down heavily that day. Su Chen felt genuinely happy. Everyone else thought the humiliation had driven him mad. Even Li Qingyue believed he had lost his mind. She left without a backward glance, unwilling to waste time arguing with a fool. Only Su Chen understood what it truly meant. He was a transmigrator, and he had just received the classic abandoned fiancé storyline. If this didn't make him the protagonist, then who did? 3 days passed. Nothing happened. Strange. Could the cheat be out of energy? Su Chen waited patiently for 3 full days. No system arrived. No matter. He had said 30 years east, 30 years west, he had 30 years to spare. 3 months later. Could someone have stolen my cheat? A sudden realization struck him. What if some prematurely awakened villain had already secretly taken his golden finger? A few years before his transmigration, stories about antagonists who specialized in robbing other people's systems had been extremely popular. Su Chen immediately began searching for any trace of his missing cheat. 3 years later, he found nothing. His cultivation remained stagnant. His father, deeply disappointed, concluded that the broken engagement had broken Su Chen's mind. He gave up on Su Chen entirely and poured all his resources into Su Chen's clever half-brother, born of a different mother. Though the younger brother's talent was slightly inferior, he was quick-witted and sharp. The struggle for the position of heir had always been ruthless. By the time Su Chen realized what was happening, it was already too late. All his resources had been taken by his own half-brother. He had become an abandoned son. 30 years later. Looking back on those days, Su Chen could only sigh. Ever since his father, Su Nan, had given every resource to his half-brother Su Shuehe, Su Chen had a furious argument with him and left the family. He swore to prove that even without the Su clan, he could still become a hegemon of his own. Now, well, hegemon might be too grand a word. But he had become the leader of a small mercenary band. Hunting demonic beasts with his tight-knit team provided a comfortable living. Staring at his reflection in the mirror, a middle-aged face etched with the marks of time, no longer carrying the reckless spirit of youth, Su Chen reflected quietly. 30 years ago, he had told them not to mock the poor youth. 30 years later, he told them not to mock the poor middle-aged man. He had heard that Li Qingyue, the one who annulled their engagement, had long since broken through to the spirit vein realm and become a true disciple of an elder in the Heavenly Wave sect. Su Chen decided it was finally time for his cheat to appear. He was already middle-aged. If it didn't come soon, he would grow old waiting. Could my cheat be the more children, the more blessings? Su Chen considered the possibility. His thoughts drifted to the woman who had followed him all these years in the mercenary band. Her name was Lu Shuyi. They had met on the road when he first left his family. She too had been cast out by her own clan. Now, both of them were well past 40. That very day, Su Chen married her. Another 30 years of wind and rain passed in the blink of an eye. The long-awaited more children, more blessings system never arrived. He and Lu Shuyi had a lovely daughter, then a son. Both children showed excellent aptitude and had now reached the spirit-gathering realm. They studied at the martial academy. Neither would have to live the blood-soaked life of a mercenary like their father. Su Chen learned yesterday that Li Qingyue had broken through to the spirit sea realm and become an elder of the Heavenly Wave sect. Perhaps by now she no longer even remembered who he was. His head ached. He had recently led his brothers to join a larger mercenary group, only for the old leader to die the day before. His own cultivation lingered at the peak of spirit gathering. He lacked the strength to carry the banner. Unwilling to be dragged into the coming power struggle, Su Chen took his small group and left. They settled in a city called Lofty Mountain. There, Su Chen founded a new Su family. On the night he invited representatives from the major powers to celebrate, an unexpected guest arrived. Looking at his half-brother, now also showing streaks of white at the temples, Su Chen felt strangely calm. He once harbored hatred, but time had worn it thin. Brother, after you left, Mother fell ill with heart disease. She passed away 20 years ago. Father died just last year. Until his final breath, he kept murmuring your name, longing to see you one last time. Brother, I know you still resent what I did back then. Let me atone. Come back to the family with me. Su Chen refused coldly. Su Shuahe left in silence. The wind and sand are so strong today. Watching his brother's departing figure, Su Chen touched the corner of his eye. His fingers came away damp. He could never return to that other Su family. This place, this was his home now. That night, Su Chen drank himself into oblivion. Su Chen had grown old. Even Lu Shiyi had been buried by his own hands, not here, but in the very place where they had first met all those years ago. It was not out of romance. He simply did not want anyone disturbing her rest. This time, 20 years had passed, not 30. On the day of his centennial birthday, he still had no system. He knew this day marked both his longevity celebration and the limit of his life. Fortunately, he had already sent away his son, his daughter, his grandchildren, and the core young members of the Su family. Outside the door came the clash of blades and swords. Su Chen lifted the long sword that had gathered thick layers of dust over the decades. The old monster from the neighboring Su family had broken through to the spirit vein realm. Lofty Mountain City would tolerate no second voice. Su Chen had chosen the wrong side. He had bet that the city lord would break through first. Instead, the city lord was ridden down and slain in a crushing reversal. The consequences were inevitable, a reckoning. The main gate was kicked open. An old man dressed in stone-blue brocade robes walked in slowly. This was Su Ba, the ancestor of the Su family, a spirit vein realm powerhouse. Su Chen faced death without fear. Though age had claimed him, the years in the mercenary band had not been wasted. Another figure stepped out from behind Su Ba, a young man holding several severed heads. They rolled across the floor and came to rest at Su Chen's feet. When he recognized the faces, Su Chen's expression darkened. Then he died. 100 years of wind and rain, and in the end, his clan was exterminated, and he perished with it. In his fading awareness, he vaguely heard the young man mutter to himself, "What a pity." Su Chen's 2 children and several elders fought to the death to protect them. Even though we learned the retreat route in advance and sent a large force to intercept, some of the younger Su family members still escaped. If they got away, then hunt them down. Track them. Put bounties on their heads. That old fox Su Chen always had 3 burrows. He was cautious to the bone. The disciples he sent away must have outstanding talent. If they grow up, they will become a serious threat to my Su family. If I hadn't obtained the inheritance of a spirit sea realm expert, the one wiped out today might have been us. Su Chen's consciousness faded. But it did not vanish completely. Realms, spirit awakening, spirit gathering, spirit vein, spirit sea, spirit soul, profound connection, void refining, nirvana, saint, saint king, great saint, quasi-emperor, great emperor. After Su Chen died, he found himself in a strange, pitch-black space. Damn it! That old dog of the Su family actually had such fortune. Recalling Su Ba's final words, Su Chen burned with resentment. The city lord's breakthrough to the spirit vein realm had seemed all but guaranteed. Yet the Su family had broken through first. Such was heaven's will, fate played cruel tricks. Just as the Su family ancestor had said, if the city lord had advanced first, it would have been the Su family storming the Su compound instead. Someone from the Su family betrayed me. If anyone could have seen Su Chen's face in that moment, they would have found it as black as coal. Those sent away were either his direct descendants or his sworn brothers who had faced life and death alongside him. But Su Chen had no time to dwell on betrayal now. His long-awaited cheat, the system he had yearned for across a full century, had finally arrived. After death. How perfectly ironic. Su Chen turned his gaze toward the cheat. It was a book. With just one glance, 3 words surfaced in his mind. Reverse Fate Scripture. It radiated an eternal, majestic glow and looked extraordinarily extraordinary. Su Chen picked it up and began to read. The first page read, "In your first life, you were a reckless youth who committed many mistakes. After leaving home, you endured countless hardships, fought your way through the mercenary world, rose to a position of power, founded a family, became an ancestor, and left your mark upon this world. Though you perished, legends of you still circulate in lofty mountain city. Your life was, in its way, splendid. Evaluation, 3 stars, white. Reward, 30 reverse fate points. Please allocate your reverse fate points and proceed to your second life." A prompt appeared before Su Chen. Talent, 0, plus. Comprehension, 0, plus. Family background, 0, plus. Dao Heart, 5. Note, reverse fate points may be used immediately or saved for the next life. After each life ends, all attributes except Dao Heart will reset to 0. Su Chen understood at once. This was his cheat. With enough reverse fate points, he could defy heaven and rewrite his destiny in the lives to come. Su Chen spoke in a low voice, "Su Ba. Su family. The grudge of my Su clan is far from settled. If he had truly died, the past would be written off. But he still lived. A blood feud of clan extermination could not go unavenged." Without hesitation, Su Chen poured all 30 reverse fate points into the attributes. Talent plus 15. Comprehension plus 10. Family background plus 5. Having cultivated for an entire lifetime, Su Chen knew the rules well. In the early stages, fast cultivation required superior talent. In the later stages, breaking through bottlenecks demanded profound comprehension. Without talent in the beginning, there would be no resources. Without resources, there would be no later stages. That was why he invested an extra 5 points into talent. A blinding white light flashed. Su Chen entered his second life. In Northwind City, a handsome young man stood frozen in front of the mirror, staring at his own reflection in disbelief. "Damn it! You finally woke up at 17? Couldn't you have come a little earlier?" Su Chen felt deeply exasperated. If the memories had awakened even 1 year sooner, he could have accomplished so much more, taken the entrance exams for the top martial academies, applied to the premier sects. In this life, his status was excellent, the son of Northwind City's lord. Su Chen had already braced himself to live like a workhorse, only to discover he had been reborn into a privileged official family. The city lord of Northwind City was named Jiangli. In this life, Su Chen had become Jiang Chen. The good news was that he remained in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. Only 20 years had passed since the destruction of the Su family in his previous life. The Su family's ancestor was still alive. Su Chen decided that a grudge he could not settle in his last life could just as well be avenged in this one. "Young Master Jiang Chen, the Lord wishes to speak with you." A petite maid in a pale yellow dress, her round face adorably childlike, hurried over with small, quick steps. This was Su Chen's personal maid in his current life. He nodded and followed her to meet his father of this lifetime. In the spacious hall, Jianli had already instructed the servants to prepare a meal. A tall, stern-looking middle-aged man and a graceful woman dressed in a moon-white silk skirt, her dark hair pinned up with a single jade hairpin, sat waiting for him. When Su Chen saw them, a warm smile spread across his face. He bowed respectfully. "Greetings, father." "Greetings, mother." Wang Hanyu immediately pulled him over. "You silly child, come and sit. There's no need for so much formality at home." Su Chen sat down obediently. Jianli spoke first. Eat now. We'll talk after the meal. Su Chen finished his food quietly. Only then did Jianli explain why he had summoned him. Chenner, you have already reached the peak of the 9th layer of spirit awakening. Breaking through to spirit gathering is only a step away. This spirit gathering pill may give you the push you need. After the meal, Jianli took out an exquisite case containing a single pill, the spirit gathering pill. One such pill could help a cultivator at the peak of spirit awakening advance directly to the spirit gathering realm. Only the greatest powers knew how to refine it. Not only was it exorbitantly expensive, but even money alone could not guarantee one could be obtained. Though Jianli was a city lord and a spirit vein realm expert, acquiring even a single spirit gathering pill had not been easy. Su Chen felt a genuine wave of gratitude. 3 days later, he successfully broke through to the spirit gathering realm. He was still only 17. In his previous life, after leaving his family, it had taken him until 25 to reach this stage. Now he had arrived 8 years earlier. The future looked bright. Buoyed by his breakthrough, Su Chen returned to Soaring Cloud's Martial Academy in high spirits. Though Soaring Cloud's Martial Academy could not compare to the 2 Supreme Academies, it still ranked among the top 10 in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. His advancement to spirit gathering at 17 caused quite a stir upon his return. In the eyes of most, a 17-year-old spirit gathering cultivator already qualified as a genius. Even in a place like Soaring Cloud's Martial Academy, where talents abounded, only a small handful could match that achievement. Su Chen entered the inner courtyard ahead of schedule and chose an elder as his master. The elder he selected was Jiang Xiangyang, a 7th-layer spirit vein expert, 4 layers higher than his father, Jiangli. Jiang Xiangyang was a slovenly old man, but because they shared the same surname, he accepted Su Chen as his disciple and began to guide him. In this way, Su Chen gained another powerful backer. That evening, at the urging of his friends, Su Chen hosted a banquet to celebrate both his entry into the inner courtyard and his successful apprenticeship under Elder Jiang Xiangyang. The road had not been easy, after all. His close friends nearly beat him for bragging. To them, Su Chen's life was nothing short of cheating. A city lord for a father, spirit gathering at 17, inner courtyard admission, and now a direct disciple of Elder Jiang Xiangyang. If this wasn't the life of a winner, what was? You don't understand. You really don't understand anything. Su Chen merely shook his head. How could they possibly comprehend the hardship he had endured to reach this point? Even if that hardship belonged to his previous life. After leaving the restaurant under a hazy moon, a sudden chill ran through Su Chen's body. He had spotted a familiar face. A face that carried the shadow of an old enemy. It belonged to the Su family. Li Ming, do me a favor. Su Chen looked earnestly at the drunken man beside him. Li Ming, seeing the gravity in Su Chen's expression, sobered up instantly. I knew you were faking it. Su Chen glared at him, irritation flaring. Li Ming gave an awkward laugh. It wasn't that he didn't want to help. Back at the table, if he hadn't pretended to be drunk, he might have ended up dead in that restaurant. You were pretending too, Li Ming muttered under his breath. Su Chen let it slide. In his mercenary days, that amount of alcohol had been nothing more than water to him. For now, though, he could not afford to reveal too many abnormalities. Help me investigate someone. Su Chen pointed toward the young man who bore such a striking resemblance to his old foe. The youth turned around and, catching Su Chen's gaze, offered a faint smile. Li Ming was Su Chen's closest drinking buddy and troublemaking friend. The Li family held considerable influence within Soaring Cloud City, so investigating someone posed little difficulty for him. Less than a day later, the information on the youth who bore such an uncanny resemblance to his old enemy lay spread out before Su Chen. For all his usual unreliability, Li Ming came through when it mattered most. As I thought. A cold, vicious smile curled Su Chen's lips, his expression turning savage. His lone wolf instincts from that day had not deceived him. The youth really was the son of his old foe. He was the son of Su Changji, the most outstanding young genius of the Su family 20 years ago, the very one who had stood behind Su Ba that fateful night. His name was Su Sheng. A disciple of Soaring Cloud's Martial Academy, 3 years older than Su Chen, and still stuck at the 9th layer of Spirit Awakening at the age of 20. He might have been on the verge of a breakthrough. But he would never get the chance now. Su Ba, if I can't kill you, that old turtle, I can at least start carving away your clansmen one by one. Su Chen seethed with hatred. Back when he died, he could have accepted it as a gamble lost, fair enough. The problem was that he had come back to life. The memory of his children's and old comrades' severed heads rolling to his feet, their wide, staring eyes fixed on him, haunted his dreams even now. Until not even an ant from the Su family remained, the hatred in his heart would never be quenched. Moreover, the Su family now possessed the inheritance of a Spirit Sea Realm expert, a tremendous fortune. In the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, a Spirit Sea Realm cultivator already counted as an absolute powerhouse. Even Li Qingyue, the woman who had once annulled their engagement, had only reached that realm after all these years. With such talent, she had indeed shone brightly in the kingdom. No wonder she had felt justified in declaring that they were no longer of the same world. Su Chen still bore the grudge. He had never forgotten. And in truth, they really were no longer of the same path. Li Qingyue had grown old. He was 17 again, in the prime of youth. He would rather die than marry an aging woman. This was no longer a matter of embracing a golden brick. Su Chen pondered how to eliminate a Soaring Cloud's Martial Academy disciple without raising suspicion. Killing a fellow disciple had always been a grave crime within the academy. Light punishment meant confinement, severe punishment meant expulsion. He could not afford to act openly. But what if Su Sheng, while on a mission, encountered ruthless bandits who happened to harbor a deep grudge against the Su family? And what if those bandits killed him? A perfectly plausible scenario. The academy would never mobilize on behalf of one disciple. Now that the Su family had obtained a Spirit Sea Realm inheritance, they would prefer to keep a low profile rather than draw attention by making a fuss over Su Sheng's death. 3 months later, Su Sheng accepted a high-reward mission. Who are you? Dressed in academy robes, Su Sheng eyed the 3 cloaked figures who had suddenly appeared before him, his posture tense and wary. People here to take your life. The 3 attacked in unison, forcing Su Sheng into a desperate retreat. At the final, life-or-death moment, he unleashed a ferocious punch. A faint white tiger seemed to roar within the strike as he counter-killed all 3 assailants. Su Sheng panted heavily, bewildered as to why he had been ambushed by 3 killers at once. He reached down to pull back their hoods and reveal their faces. In the next instant, a sharp sword pierced straight through his chest. What a bunch of trash, they couldn't even kill one person. Good thing I stayed cautious and followed quietly. The previous night, Su Chen had deliberately gotten everyone drunk, pouring liquor until they passed out. Then he slipped away unnoticed. He sprinkled a few drops of corpse-dissolving liquid over the bodies, erasing all traces, and left. A group of desperate killers, who would suspect him? Even if Su Sheng's death was eventually discovered, it would mean nothing. In this life, he was Jiang Chen. What did any of this have to do with Su Chen? Su Chen returned to Soaring Cloud City in secret. By the time people noticed him again, he was lying in bed, fast asleep. 1 month later, Su Sheng's death was finally uncovered. Just as Su Chen had predicted, the academy handled the matter perfunctorily, concluding that Su Sheng had offended an old enemy and been killed in revenge. This was the martial world. When an ordinary disciple died, he simply died. Most people never even heard his name. The Su family knew the truth, yet they dared not make a fuss. Only Su Changji, the family head, seethed with hatred. But no clues surfaced. In the end, the matter faded into silence. Only Su Chen understood that this was merely the beginning. One life was far from enough to settle a clan extermination grudge. With his enemies in the open and himself in the shadows, Su Chen felt no urgency. He continued his cultivation at Soaring Cloud's Martial Academy without drawing attention. 1 year later, shortly after turning 18, Su Chen was summoned home by Jiangli. When he arrived, he noticed an elderly man seated beside his father. The face looked vaguely familiar. Not someone from the Su family, the world was not that cliched. This was the old patriarch of Northwind City's Wang family, a figure of great respect and influence. Su Chen had met him a few times in passing. Northwind City was considerably larger than Lofty Mountain City. Jiangli was a spirit vein realm expert, and naturally, the Wang family patriarch was also in the spirit vein realm. The old man studied Su Chen, handsome, poised, and clearly talented, and gave a satisfied nod. "Nephew Jiang, I have a granddaughter beautiful as a celestial maiden. She has been cultivating at the Spirit Sword sect for many years and has only just returned to Northwind City. This old man would be grateful if you could spend a few days showing her around the city and keeping her company." Su Chen understood immediately. This was a matchmaking meeting, plain and simple. He glanced at his father. Jianli gave a slight nod. The girl must be stunning and possess excellent aptitude, enough to win his father's full approval and prompt this summons. Arranged marriages were commonplace among great families. In his first life, the Su family had formed an alliance with the Li family through his engagement to Li Qingyue. Who could have predicted that a passing elder from the Heavenly Wave sect would take a liking to her and bring her to the sect for cultivation? In the end, Su Chen agreed to meet her. To live each life to the fullest and earn reverse fate points, he needed to leave his mark on the world. Meeting the granddaughter proved effortless. She stood dressed in plain white robes like fresh snow, a 3-foot green sword at her back, leaning against the pavilion railing as fine rain pattered down. No rouge touched her face, yet her beauty was pure and otherworldly. This was Su Chen's first encounter with Wang Bailu. She lifted her head, resembling a plum blossom defying winter snow, and looked straight at him with clear, steady eyes. Su Chen studied her in return. Beautiful, no question. But she can see her own toes without bending over. He mused silently to himself. His father's taste really was impeccable, though there was still a slight flaw. Wang Bailu had no idea what thoughts were running through his mind. Still, he was handsome, and for a beauty like her, first impressions rarely went wrong. This time, no broken engagement occurred. Both sides were pleased. Su Chen escorted Wang Bailu around Northwind City. For 3 straight days, the two were inseparable. On the 4th day, they parted, agreeing to meet again at the Heavenly Wind Kingdom's Decennial Youth Grand Competition. Su Chen returned to Soaring Cloud's Martial Academy. His troublemaking friend Li Ming watched him with open curiosity, sensing that something about his best friend had changed. Su Chen, of course, said nothing. "We're different now. I have a family background. You're still a single dog." Su Chen cultivated at Soaring Cloud's Martial Academy with relentless determination. Nearly 2.5 years had passed since he awakened his memories in this life. He had advanced from the 9th layer of Spirit Awakening all the way to the 6th layer of Spirit Gathering. He was now 19. Such rapid progress stunned the entire academy. After deliberation, the Council of Elders decided to groom Su Chen as a Spirit Sea-level seed candidate. Everyone regarded him as a prodigy. Only Su Chen knew the truth. His swift cultivation stemmed from 2 advantages. First, he had already walked this exact path once in his previous life. Second, this time, he possessed far superior talent, comprehension, and resources. That was why he progressed so quickly. Still, he remained a false seed candidate at best. Yet Su Chen had no intention of correcting anyone. Free benefits were benefits. He treated the Academy's investment as exactly that. The Su family remained quiet. No news had surfaced about the Su family he had founded in his previous life either. Su Chen no longer paid those matters any attention. His focus now rested on the Heavenly Wind Kingdom's Decennial Youth Grand Competition. The Academy placed great hopes on him, expecting a strong placement. Accompanied by several elders and a group of the Academy's most promising talents, Su Chen set out for the royal capital. His troublemaking friend Li Ming joined the journey as well. Jiang Chen, are you confident about this competition? I suddenly feel so much pressure. Even Soaring Clouds Martial Academy alone has this many geniuses. Li Ming gazed up at the starry sky, a trace of bewilderment in his eyes. Over the past 2 years, Li Ming had also broken through to the spirit-gathering realm and now stood at the first layer. Meanwhile, his good brother Su Chen had reached the 6th layer and was a year younger. Li Ming had once thought Su Chen was already exceptional. Yet every young disciple from the academy sent to the grand competition was at least his equal. The weakest among them was still at the 5th layer of spirit gathering. Geniuses in this world are as numerous as the stars, Su Chen said, lifting his eyes to the vast sky. In any era, there is only one moon. All the other stars are destined to be overshadowed by its brilliance. Li Ming stared at his suddenly unfamiliar friend, his chest tightening with emotion. So you want to become the moon? Su Chen shook his head. I'm just the smallest, most insignificant star. But if I could hear the Tao in the morning, I would be content to die in the evening. If I can one day witness that moon, if I can behold the true chosen ones of the martial path, even if my own light is eclipsed, I would accept it willingly. Li Ming froze. Was this really the same guy he spent every day messing around with? The sudden shift to such lofty words left him thoroughly unsettled. Su Chen continued earnestly. I'm only telling you this, don't fear failure. There are always people in this world better than us. Li Ming nodded, the knot in his heart loosening. If even his good brother wasn't afraid of failing, what did he have to fear? Su Chen left one thought unspoken. Sooner or later, I, Su Chen, will become that brightest, singular moon. If one life wasn't enough, then 2. 3. Eventually, in some life, he would rise to become the figure everyone looked up to. After Su Chen and Li Ming returned to their rooms to rest, neither noticed the middle-aged man who stepped out from the shadows. If I could hear the Tao in the morning, I would be content to die in the evening. Many old monsters lack the open-mindedness of this junior. He murmured to himself, a faint smile touching his lips. After days of travel, the group finally arrived at the Heavenly Wind Royal Capital. The elders of Soaring Clouds Martial Academy had already arranged accommodations for everyone. Without pausing to rest, Su Chen hurried off to meet his fiancée. When he returned with Wang Bailu and introduced her to the others from the academy, Li Ming's face darkened to the color of charcoal. They had agreed to stay single together, yet here Su Chen was with a fiancée. Su Chen gave 2 awkward laughs. He was sure Li Ming would understand. Soaring Clouds Martial Academy welcomed Wang Bailu warmly, but the Spirit Sword sect regarded Su Chen with clear hostility. Wang Bailu was a renowned beauty within the sect. Though she lacked the widespread fame of the sect's senior sister, one of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom's 10 greatest beauties, she possessed a unique charm that had won her countless admirers. Su Chen's arrival was like poking a hornet's nest. A swarm of disciples immediately surrounded him. So you're junior sister Wang's fiancé? I challenge you. If you lose, you stay far away from her. An older senior brother from the Spirit Sword sect stepped forward, eyes blazing with righteous fury as he issued his challenge. Su Chen declined. What kind of delusional, Chunibu idiot was this? Are you even a man? Don't you dare face me in a fair, upright duel between men? If I lose, I'll vanish from junior sister Wang's sight forever. If you lose, you break off the engagement. The senior brother pressed relentlessly, his tone aggressive and overbearing, as though dominating Su Chen here would somehow elevate his own standing in Wang Bailu's eyes. I simply think it's unfair to Miss Wang to be treated as a bargaining chip by someone like you, Su Chen replied calmly. If you want to spar, I'll accept. But I will not wager my fiancée. She is not merchandise. She is my future wife. With those words, Su Chen instantly earned the respect of the entire Spirit Sword sect. Wang Bailu's beautiful eyes turned toward the poised young man, sparkling with admiration. The humiliated senior brother, face flushed with shame and rage, lunged at Su Chen in a fit of anger, only to be subdued in a single move. The sight shocked everyone present. In the end, a middle-aged man appeared and led the dazed, life-questioning senior brother away. From start to finish, Su Chen never learned, or cared to learn, his name. They were never on the same level. An elder of the Spirit Sword sect personally apologized to Su Chen and assured him that no one from the sect would trouble him again. The attitude of the entire sect flipped completely. Where they once believed Su Chen unworthy of Wang Bailu, they now feared she might not be worthy of him. They were convinced he would emerge as a dark horse in the grand competition, destined to achieve outstanding results. Once his name spread, countless noble daughters would throw themselves at him. Wang Bailu noticed the shift as well. Her fiancé was outstanding, perhaps too outstanding. If he became famous, would he one day send her a letter of repudiation? So, in the days leading up to the martial grand competition, she stayed by Su Chen's side at every moment. Only when the event officially began, with geniuses from every major sect gathering in force, did she finally grant him some freedom. Su Chen felt like his dark horse momentum was about to collapse. He had become a worn-out horse instead. Still, though exhausted, he endured. In his previous life, he had fought on the edge of death for decades. His combat experience far surpassed that of these green youngsters fresh from the cradle. Along the way, he truly emerged as the dark horse of the grand competition, drawing the attention of countless powers. Zheng Yuan, your Soaring Clouds Martial Academy has picked up quite the talent. Several sect elders gathered together, openly expressing their envy toward Soaring Clouds' representative. At 19, Su Chen stood at the 6th layer of Spirit Gathering. More astonishingly, he had defeated one of the top 10 favorites in an upset victory. Nangong Ming of the Heavenly Wave sect, 21 years old, peaked 9th layer of Spirit Gathering, and the disciple most prized by Elder Li Qingyue. Su Chen, merely at the 6th layer, had fought with fearless ferocity and unrelenting spirit, pressuring Nangong Ming until the latter chose to concede. His name spread across the kingdom overnight. They gave him a new title, the Madman of Martial Dao. At that moment, the dark horse of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, Su Chen, lay motionless on the bed. Pain, excruciating pain everywhere. Su Chen felt as though his body had been shattered and barely held together. Every inch of skin burned as if sliced open by countless knives. 1,000 cuts, 10,000 slashes. Wang Bailu, Li Ming, and the familiar faces of Soaring Clouds Martial Academy surrounded him, all watching with tense concern. Wang Bailu leaned against the windowsill, clutching Su Chen's hand tightly. Tiny tears rolled from her eyes one after another, soaking the bedding. Truly, women were made of water. Despite the agony, Su Chen forced a reassuring smile. "I'm fine now. I'm awake." No one believed him. His face remained deathly pale, and their expressions showed deep doubt. He quickly changed the subject. "In my final match against Nangong Ming of the Heavenly Wave sect, who won?" The moment he mentioned it, everyone erupted into excited chatter. "Of course you won, junior brother Jiang." A pretty senior sister gazed at him with shining eyes. Su Chen felt something soft and cool press against his hand, warm yet refreshing. Wang Bailu had rested her cheek there, quietly staking her claim. The gesture made him both amused and exasperated. Even the sharp pain from his wounds eased a little. "Now the entire capital is buzzing with tales of you, junior brother Jiang. Nangong Ming was a top 3 favorite, yet she lost to you and missed the top 10 entirely." A senior brother chimed in, his tone filled with genuine admiration. "Junior brother Jiang's martial spirit is truly worthy of respect. That's what the martial path should be, charging forward without fear of death. It sets the blood ablaze." Another senior brother nodded fervently, already completely won over by Su Chen. In reality, Su Chen was inwardly screaming from the pain. Martial spirit? As long as he didn't die, that was enough. The real reason he had fought so desperately was simple: Nangong Ming was the disciple Li Qingyue prized above all others. The memory of Li Qingyue arrogantly annulling their engagement in his previous life still burned in his mind. He couldn't touch Li Qingyue herself, but surely he could defeat her most cherished disciple? This had been a battle of vindication. Su Chen had told himself he could not lose. In the end, only one thought had echoed in his mind: defeat Nangong Ming. And so he had won. In a pure contest of skill, he could never have matched her. But in terms of raw combat experience forged on the edge of death, Nangong Ming stood no chance. Jiang Chen, you're absolutely insane. Nangong Ming, the Dream Fairy, one of the 10 greatest beauties of the younger generation, actually cried and surrendered to you. Li Ming stared at him in open awe, practically shouting in excitement. Watching his best friend rise to fame filled Li Ming with pride and exhilaration. Wealth and honor, share them together. Glory and disgrace, bear them as one. Su Chen, however, sank into deep recollection. A giant question mark formed in his mind. Did that really happen? For a true prodigy to be beaten to tears seemed utterly absurd. As the one who had fought her, how could he not remember Nangong Ming crying? He spoke slowly. When did this happen? Nangong Ming is a martial prodigy. She wouldn't cry just from losing, would she? Li Ming swore solemnly. It's the talk of every street and alley right now. Storytellers are spinning epic tales about how you made the Dream Fairy weep. Now, a bunch of young elites from various powers are banding together to come find trouble with you. If your injuries haven't healed yet, I'd suggest laying low for a while. A stampede of special plans thundered through Su Chen's mind. If he ever found out who started this rumor, he would string them up and give them a thorough whipping. It wasn't that he minded the idea of making Nangong Ming cry. The problem was that he hadn't done it, and yet he had somehow earned himself an enormous pile of trouble for free. What a sin! At that moment, a middle-aged man strode into the room. Seeing that Su Chen had awakened, he laughed heartily and slapped him on the shoulder. Jiang Chen, well done. Our Soaring Clouds Martial Academy has finally produced a top 10 finisher in this grand competition. The elder's face glowed with delight. But when he bent down to look closer, Su Chen lay motionless on the bed once more, barely able to twitch. A faint voice drifted up. Elder Mu, could you please be a little gentler? Su Chen fainted again. The entire room turned to stare silently at Elder Mu. Elder Mu gave an awkward laugh and, with visible pain, produced a third-grade pill and fed it to Su Chen. There was no choice. Soaring Clouds Martial Academy had gone 5 consecutive grand competitions without a single top 10 placement. Now that Su Chen had finally appeared, if he ended up crippled because of this, the old fogies back at the academy would surely skin him alive. Elder Mu thought to himself how wonderful it would have been if he had simply stayed away today. A third-grade pill, worth over 100,000 gold coins. Su Chen eventually woke once more and tasted the effects of a third-grade pill for the first time. It felt nothing short of divine. The Royal Capital's rewards proved quite generous: 3 days of cultivation in the Spirit Pool, 1 Azure Spirit Vein Fruit, and a choice of a profound-grade lower-tier weapon. Su Chen selected a long spear. 1 inch longer meant 1 inch stronger. 3 days later, his cultivation advanced another step, crossing into the 8th layer of spirit gathering. As he left the spirit pool, Su Chen caught sight of a familiar figure. A slender form was perfectly outlined by purple robes. Her face was cold as frost-covered snow, with a few stray strands of hair falling across her forehead, lending her an ethereal, dreamlike quality. She was the kind of beauty countless men dreamed of day and night. If only her gaze hadn't carried murderous intent. Su Chen inwardly groaned. The newcomer was none other than Nangong Ming, the one he had defeated. Jiang Chen, I challenge you. Nangong Ming burned with unwillingness. Every street and alley rang with tales of how the madman from Soaring Clouds Martial Academy had beaten her to tears, forcing her to concede and leave the stage in disgrace. She accepted the loss itself. She refused to stoop to arguing with a lunatic. But she had not cried. Nangong Ming intended to prove it. She would defeat Su Chen and wash away the humiliation. Su Chen simply stepped aside. His cultivation had now reached the 8th layer of spirit gathering. Defeating Nangong Ming would not be difficult. But he had no desire to fight. Seeing herself ignored, Nangong Ming nearly exploded with rage. Jiang Chen, are you even a man? Su Chen turned back to look at her furious expression, tilting his head in genuine confusion. Whether I'm a man or not, what does that have to do with accepting your challenge? He truly failed to grasp the logic of these young girls. Nan Gongming's anger boiled over. She decided to take matters into her own hands. Gripping her sword, she charged straight at him. She looks so cold and aloof, yet she's actually a hot-tempered tigress, Su Chen muttered under his breath. The words reached her ears perfectly. He raised his long spear. The tip gleamed with chilling light. The spear point stopped precisely against her forehead, piercing that delicate skin with a single drop of crimson blood. It lent her an unexpectedly poignant, tragic beauty. Su Chen withdrew the spear and waved his hand dismissively. Little girl, wait until you step into the spirit vein realm before you come challenge me again. With that, he turned and walked away without a backward glance. Nan Gongming stood frozen for a long time. Apart from the blood on her forehead, tears welled up in her eyes and fell in steady drops. Bastard! Jiang Chen, you bastard! That day, the royal capital shook once more. Rumors spread like wildfire. The dream fairy had been toyed with and abandoned by Jiang Chen, heartbroken and weeping for an entire day. The younger generation of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom roared in outrage, vowing to make the man who had bullied the dream fairy pay dearly. Time flowed eastward like water. In the blink of an eye, 3 years passed. Su Chen was now 22. Whenever he recalled the scene from the Grand Martial competition, his head throbbed with pain. He still had no idea which bastard had spread the rumors, twisting them more and more outrageously. What began as he beat Nan Gongming to tears on the arena had somehow evolved into he toyed with her heart and then abandoned her. Countless versions circulated. If he ever found the culprit behind the gossip, he would hang them up and give them a proper whipping. Plenty of Nan Gongming's admirers had come looking for trouble over the years, but those were minor annoyances. After all, he was still a seed-level talent of Soaring Cloud's Martial Academy. Yet, 3 years had gone by, and his cultivation remained stuck at the peak of the 9th layer of spirit gathering. Even with the Azure Spirit Vein fruit awarded by the palace during the grand competition, he estimated it would take another year or 2 to step into the Spirit Vein realm. Meanwhile, every other top 10 prodigy from that same generation had already broken through to Spirit Vein, except him. In the end, his talent simply could not compare to theirs. Even Nan Gongming, whom he had once defeated so easily, had reportedly entered the Spirit Vein realm several months earlier, and with a blue-grade Spirit Vein at that. Blue-grade Spirit Veins were exceedingly rare in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. For some reason, Su Chen suddenly thought of Nan Gongming, not out of longing, but because of the words he had spoken 3 years ago. Back then, it had been nothing more than casual bravado, a line that felt fitting in the moment. Surely, Nan Gongming had not taken it seriously? Su Chen pondered the matter because tomorrow marked the end of his long courtship with Wang Bailu. Tomorrow was their wedding day. He could not afford any mishaps. He turned to head back to the residence. A flash of striking purple caught his eye. Su Chen said nothing. He lowered his head, stared at his toes, and quickened his pace. Suddenly, a chill settled against his neck. An ice-blue longsword rested there, pressing lightly but unmistakably. Su Chen stiffened and slowly raised his head. A flawless face stared down at him coldly. One slender hand held the sword steady against his throat. Of all the things to fear, this one had come true. Su Chen forced a dry laugh. Miss Nan Gong, long time no see. Nan Gongming said nothing. She simply gazed at him with icy detachment, the look sending a shiver down his spine. Su Chen fished out a red wedding invitation and offered it with both hands. Miss Nan Gong, tomorrow is my wedding day. I would be honored if you would attend and witness the occasion. Please do me the favor. Nan Gongming accepted the invitation. A faint spark of light flickered across her palm, and the paper turned to ash in an instant. Jiang Chen, she said, her voice colder than 10,000-year frost, do you still remember the words you once spoke? Of course, he remembered. But admitting it now was out of the question. He feigned innocence. Miss Nangong, what exactly did I say that you've kept in mind all this time? Nangong Meng thought this man was utterly shameless. He clearly knew, yet he pretended ignorance, hoping to muddle through. Jiang Chen, I challenge you. If you refuse, I will castrate you. Her words were ice. Su Chen did not doubt for a second that she meant them. He swallowed the retort that had risen to his lips. This concerned the safety of his most precious brother. Su Chen had always been a man who valued brotherhood deeply. Damn it. Was he really going to back down from this little demoness? Su Chen attacked. Su Chen got beaten. His face ended up bruised and swollen in patches. Despite those delicate, tender hands, her strikes landed without mercy. No matter what techniques or tricks Su Chen tried, she gave him no quarter. He could not fathom the mindset of all those men in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom who claimed they would gladly let Nangong Meng beat them once, even if it cost them 10 years of life. Pure masochists. When Su Chen finally struggled to his feet, battered and disheveled, Nangong Meng had already vanished. In her place lay a small jade bottle. Beneath it, carved into the ground with sword marks, a crooked word. Settled. Su Chen thought that even if his family's big yellow dog scrambled across the paper, the tracks it left would look better than this handwriting. Such a beautiful girl, yet she turned out to be petty, violent, and, worst of all, completely illiterate. The characters she wrote were simply hideous. After venting a little, Su Chen stepped forward curiously and opened the jade bottle. Inside lay a single third-grade pill, a healing pill, no less. A beating in exchange for a third-grade pill seems like a pretty good deal, he muttered, feeling a bit better about the whole thing. She was a generous, petty-minded person. A careful, violent maniac. Pity she was illiterate. When Su Chen returned home, he ran into his father, Jiangli, who stared at him in surprise. Chenner, how did you end up covered in so many injuries? Su Chen looked up and answered dully, I fell. Jiangli clearly didn't buy it. How could a fall leave fist-shaped bruises? Seeing his father about to press further and investigate, Su Chen gave in helplessly. On the way back, I met a senior who needed a sparring partner to test a new technique. He gave me a third-grade pill in return. Jiangli remained full of suspicion, but when Su Chen produced the pill, though questions still swirled in his mind, he reluctantly accepted the explanation. Get beaten up, take some superficial injuries, and walk away with a third-grade pill? How come I've never met such a generous senior? Jiangli mulled it over and decided the thrashing had actually been quite worthwhile. If only Su Chen could run into that kind of senior a few more times. Su Chen. The next day, every trace of Su Chen's injuries had vanished. On the wedding day, the hall was packed with distinguished guests. Crowds poured into Northwind City. There were senior brothers and sisters Su Chen had known at Soaring Cloud's Marshall Mansion, some who had already graduated and even set aside important missions to attend, along with his teacher Jiang Xiangyang and even the vice headmaster of the mansion. Younger disciples from the Spirit Sword sect were present, together with Wang Bailu's elders. Li Ming and the rest of his old troublemaking friends showed up too, several of them former top 10 prodigies from the Tao-seeking conference. Jiangli was stunned by the scene. Among the guests were people of such lofty status that even he had to look up to them. And all of them treated his son with surprising courtesy. It felt strangely unfamiliar. Old Master Wang, meanwhile, grinned so widely his face seemed ready to split. He was convinced this marriage was the wisest decision he had ever made. Su Chen's potential went far beyond what anyone yet realized, and the Wang family would rise along with him. Joy filled the day. For the first time, Su Chen actually felt drunk. Thinking of his best friend Li Ming, who had already passed out face down on the table, Su Chen silently added one word. Loser. Moonlight hung soft and hazy, perfect for a wedding night. Su Chen figured Wang Bailu must have been waiting for him quite a while. Today, he was the husband, she was the wife. This world would remember that he had existed. When he reached Wang Bailu's door and looked up, he noticed the dark clouds that had veiled the moon earlier had drifted away. The moonlight now poured down, exceptionally clear, bright, and round. Far off, on a tall building that stood shoulder to shoulder with the moon, he thought he glimpsed a purple figure. Su-Chen blinked. The purple silhouette vanished. Must be the wine playing tricks on me, he told himself. Husband. A soft, gentle call floated out from inside the room. Su-Chen hesitated no longer. He pushed open the door and stepped inside. Another year passed. Su-Chen successfully fused with a spirit vein and stepped into the spirit vein realm. This particular spirit vein had been pieced together from a third-tier Gale demon wolf. It carried beast patterns and possessed an azure quality. Su-Chen had no right to be picky. In this world, spirit veins were ranked in 6 colors: white, azure, blue, purple, orange, and red. A high-quality spirit vein signified combat power. It granted its owner powerful enhancements. The Gale demon wolf's enhancement was speed. From the soles of Su-Chen's feet, cyan particles swirled upward in a spiraling ascent. So this is the power of the spirit vein realm? In his previous life, Su-Chen had never broken through to the spirit vein realm, not once. He had lacked both cultivation methods and a spirit vein. In this life, at merely 23 years old, he had already reached it. The Su family. A cold light flickered across Su-Chen's face. He still harbored deep hatred toward the Su family. The extermination of his clan in his previous life, if even one member of the Su family escaped, he would never rest easy. Wait. At Spirit Vein Realm First Layer, if I act rashly and get held up by their old monsters, many of them might slip away. What Su-Chen wanted was utter annihilation, not a single chicken or dog left alive in the entire Su household. He did not strike immediately. After enduring for so many years, what were another 1 or 2? After breaking through to the Spirit Vein Realm, Su-Chen returned to Soaring Cloud's martial mansion, causing quite a stir. He also received a large quantity of cultivation resources. That had been his goal all along. With these resources, reaching the Spirit Vein Realm second layer within a year was no longer a dream. And so, Su-Chen entered another period of secluded cultivation. 2 years later, the old master of the Su family celebrated his 140th birthday. Members of every branch returned to the main residence to offer congratulations. For a time, the entire Su estate was festooned with lanterns and decorations. But no one noticed that, beneath the cover of night, in a shadowed corner, a figure wearing a ghostly mask and shrouded entirely in black robes stared coldly toward the Su compound. This was Su-Chen, fresh from seclusion at Soaring Cloud's martial mansion. The time had finally come to settle old scores with the Su family. He would seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to wipe them out in one stroke. Su-Chen moved with terrifying speed. Each step summoned cyan streams of air that propelled him forward, his figure flickering like teleportation, reappearing dozens of meters away in an instant. Behind him came faint tremors. A group of fully armed martial artists followed closely, entering the Su estate in his wake. Leading them was an old man with narrowed eyes, silver-streaked hair, a hunched back, and a somewhat plump frame. Inside the Su family courtyard, Su-Chen unleashed the full might of the Spirit Vein Realm and carved a bloody path inward. Many Su clansmen fell beneath his blade, finally alerting the household. A large number of martial artists quickly gathered. "Who are you? Why do you attack our Su family?" The speaker was a middle-aged man of the Su clan. Though his appearance had changed with age, Su-Chen still recognized him at once, Su Changyuan, the youngest son of Su Ba. In his previous life, he had met the man once. Su-Chen walked slowly, then vanished from sight. By the time the Su martial artists reacted, he already stood directly before Su Changyuan. Terror filled Su Changyuan's eyes. His throat worked as though he meant to speak, but a single sword stroke severed his head. Su-Chen held the sword in one hand and lifted Su Changyuan's head by the hair in the other. The direct line descendants of the Su family wailed in grief and despair. They rallied the martial artists loyal to the clan and charged at Su-Chen in a desperate bid for revenge. He casually cut down several of the boldest, and the rest recoiled in terror, stumbling backward. Su Chen did not pursue them further. Killing these people would be a pointless waste of vital energy. He would leave them to the Su family. Yes, Su Chen had located the Su family from his previous life. He had found its current head, his own younger brother from that life, Su Xuehe. After Su Chen's death in the previous life, Su Xuehe had secretly searched out the descendants of Su Chen and a few close friends, hiding them away so thoroughly that the Su family had never managed to track them down all these years. Su Xuehe bore an irreconcilable hatred toward the Su family. He had once seized Su Chen's position as heir within the Su clan, all for the sake of his own martial path. The martial Dao demanded competition. Yet Su Chen had been his blood brother, his only remaining family after their parents and stepmother passed away. When the Su family slaughtered him and wiped out the entire clan, how could Su Xuehe not hate them with every fiber of his being? The moment Su Chen discovered that his own descendants had been secretly taken in and protected by Su Xuehe, a storm of complicated emotions surged through his heart. Still, he felt genuine relief. Compared to himself, Su Xuehe was far better suited to lead a family. For that reason, Su Chen concealed his true identity and approached Su Xuehe to form an alliance aimed at annihilating the Su clan. Su Chen's sole demand was one stroke of fortune belonging to the Su family. Everything else, resources, treasures, lands, could go to Su Xuehe. It served as compensation to the clan he had failed to protect in his previous life. When Su Chen revealed his cultivation at Spirit Vein Realm 3rd Layer, Su Xuehe agreed to cooperate without hesitation. The Su family had only one realistic choice. Their greatest hidden asset was an ancient elder at Spirit Vein Realm 1st Layer, already teetering on the edge of death. They desperately needed a new powerhouse to anchor the clan. No matter how one looked at it, cooperating with Su Chen was the wisest path. Thus, while Su Chen pressed deeper into the Su family's inner compound, Su Xuehe led a large force of Su clansmen in through another entrance. Without a word of warning, they unleashed indiscriminate slaughter. New grudges and old, only the complete extermination of the clan could settle the debt. Su Chen carved his way straight to the inner courtyard. By now, every member of the Su household realized disaster had descended, panic spread like wildfire. Along the route, he killed several more direct descendants of the Su line. If a face bore even the slightest resemblance, he struck without pause. When he could no longer carry all the severed heads in his hands, he strung them from his belt. He looked exactly like an Asura who had crawled out of hell. Suddenly, Su Chen halted. Among the fleeing crowd, he spotted a familiar figure trying to slip away unnoticed. "So it's you." Murderous hatred exploded in Su Chen's eyes. The man sensed the gaze and jerked his head up. When he met those blazing, furious eyes, his whole body shuddered violently. All around him, Su clansmen, young disciples and elders alike, fell beneath Su Chen's blade in sprays of blood and severed limbs. The sword art was brutal, merciless, and utterly familiar. Lin Yifei knew that technique better than anyone. In all the world, only one person could wield it with such terrifying mastery. He had not even noticed when the disciples and elders beside him were cut down. By the time he realized he stood alone, the demonic figure that seemed to have climbed straight out of the underworld fixed its gaze upon him. Lin Yifei could bear no more. His legs gave way, and he dropped to his knees. Cold sweat poured down his aged face. So alike, impossibly alike. Lin Yifei kept his head bowed, not daring to look up. His throat worked several times before a trembling voice emerged. "You, just who are you?" He was absolutely certain the man he had once feared more than anything had died long ago, dead beyond any doubt. Su Chen's eyes were ice. Merely a vengeful ghost collecting a debt for an old friend. The sword flashed. Lin Yifei's head tumbled to the ground, rolling once before coming to rest. A pair of wide, incredulous eyes stared up at Su Chen. Su Chen did not bother asking why Lin Yifei had betrayed him. There was no need. The price of betrayal was death, for him and for every last one of his descendants. Su Xuehe would handle the rest. Right then, a heartrending wail of grief rose from deeper within the inner courtyard. Su Chen looked up and saw a face he recognized all too well.